If Niccolò Machiavelli were alive today and saw the tension between the United States and Iran, he might say something like this: "The world changes, empires rise and fall, but the struggle for power never changes. Because states are not like individuals. People may act with conscience, but states often act with interests." Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. Men are moved either by love or by fear. What we see today on the global chessboard is exactly this. On the surface, there is diplomacy, but behind the curtains, calculations of power are being made. Machiavelli might continue, "A ruler who does not prepare for war invites danger." In the world of power, a state that shows weakness rarely receives respect. It receives pressure. But Machiavelli would also remind us of another truth. A wise ruler uses war only as a last resort, because war does not only weaken the enemy, sometimes it weakens the victor as well. So as the world watches the tension between Iran and the United States, one question remains: is true power the ability to wage war or the ability to prevent it? Machiavelli might also say, the greatest mistake of a ruler is to underestimate his opponent. History has shown us this again and again. Many great wars were born from arrogance. One side trusts too much in its strength. The other sees retreat as weakness. And in that moment, reason falls silent and weapons begin to speak. According to Machiavelli, true leadership appears precisely at this moment. A wise leader knows not only how to fight a war, but also when to stop one. Because starting a war is easy, but ending it can take generations. If Niccolò Machiavelli continued to observe the tension between the United States and Iran, he might add, "A ruler must understand one simple truth. Power without wisdom is the fastest road to ruin." Because nations often believe that strength lies only in armies, weapons, and alliances. But Machiavelli knew that real power lies in strategy. He once argued that a leader must always see 2 steps ahead of his enemy. Not every battle should be fought with swords. Some battles are won with patience, others with intelligence. If a leader reacts only with anger, he becomes predictable. And in politics, the most dangerous thing a ruler can be is predictable. Machiavelli might warn both sides. When pride controls decisions, nations walk blindly toward disaster. Because pride can make leaders believe that retreat is weakness. But sometimes the strongest move in politics is the move that prevents destruction. True power is not measured by how many wars you start, but by how many disasters you prevent. Machiavelli would likely finish with a cold but realistic reminder: the fate of nations is decided not by emotions, but by calculation. History is full of powerful states that believed they were invincible, empires that thought their strength would last forever. Yet time proved them wrong. Rome was powerful, Napoleon was powerful, many believed their power was eternal. But Machiavelli understood something important. No power in the world is permanent. This is why wise leaders act carefully, because a single decision made in anger can echo through history for centuries. And when the smoke of war disappears, what remains is not victory or defeat. What remains is the price humanity had to pay. If Niccolò Machiavelli continued his reflection on the tension between the United States and Iran, he might say, "Many rulers believe power lies in showing strength, but the wisest rulers know that power also lies in restraint." Because every war begins with a decision made in a room by a few individuals. But the consequences of that decision are carried by millions. Machiavelli understood something many leaders forget. A prince must think not only about today, but about the stability of tomorrow. A war may bring temporary victory, but it can also create decades of instability. The strongest rulers are not those who react the fastest, but those who think the farthest, because strategy is not about winning the next battle. Strategy is about shaping the future. Machiavelli might end his thoughts with a final warning. In politics, there are no eternal friends and no eternal enemies, only interests. Nations may argue today and cooperate tomorrow. Alliances change, enemies change, but the pursuit of power remains constant. That is the nature of politics. But Machiavelli would likely remind the world of one final truth. Power that forgets humanity eventually destroys itself. Because fear can rule people for a time, but respect is what keeps a nation strong. And history remembers the difference, not the rulers who simply held power, but the ones who understood how to use it wisely. If Niccolò Machiavelli continued speaking about the tension between the United States and Iran, he might say, every conflict in history begins with a belief, the belief that one side will win quickly. Yet, history rarely follows the plans of rulers. Wars that were meant to last weeks often last years, and victories that look certain sometimes become the beginning of decline. Machiavelli would likely warn, a ruler must fear long wars more than strong enemies, because a strong enemy can be defeated, but a long war slowly weakens everything, the economy, the people, and the stability of the state. That is why wise rulers calculate carefully. They ask not only can we win, but also what will it cost us if we do? Machiavelli might conclude with a final observation. Power is not only the ability to destroy, power is the ability to control destruction. The world has entered an age where wars are no longer small. Modern conflicts can shake entire regions, sometimes even the whole world, and this is where true leadership is tested. Because the greatest leaders in history were not always the ones who fought the most wars. Often, they were the ones who prevented the most. Machiavelli might leave the world with one final thought. The strongest ruler is not the one who proves his power in war, but the one whose power is so well understood that war becomes unnecessary. If Niccolò Machiavelli were to give one final lesson while watching the tension between the United States and Iran, he might say, the greatest illusion of power is believing it will last forever. History has always humbled those who believed they were untouchable. Kings believed their thrones were eternal. Empires believed their borders would never fall. Yet time proved the same lesson again and again. Power rises, power fades, and what remains in the end is not the power itself, but the consequences of how it was used. Machiavelli might remind the world, a ruler is judged not only by his victories, but by the world he leaves behind. Because wars eventually end, weapons fall silent, leaders disappear, but the scars left on nations can remain for generations. And that is why the wisest rulers understand one final truth. True power is not the ability to dominate the world. True power is the wisdom to prevent the world from destroying itself.